back to basics. I'm thinking about this on two different levels. The first half of this video, we'll talk about you, the individual, having to get back to basics. And the second part of this video, we'll talk about how it may impact you as the individual that has to keep running a person back through the basics. First part, I'm thinking about how there may be certain skills that you just missed out on in life. There may be things that you were taught and perhaps you may have forgotten because life is taking you on a different path and you're way out in la la land. And you forgot about some of the basics. You're trying to get on track, right? Well, I'm going to start it out by saying, I'm taking it that if you're out in la la land and you're trying to get on track, maybe you're wanting to go a positive way in life. Maybe you're wanting to make some healthier choices, right? It's just a hunch. That's just what I'm thinking. So, why don't we explore the most basic way of getting back on track, and with this one word, even though it may mean different things to some people, and they may have different lines and boundaries and defining what this means to them, we'll all be able to agree on the standard definition of this word. And that word is peace. Even if you're a person that's full of confusion, full of all types of things going on left and right, up around them, that's full of drama, you know what? I don't even want to go down the path. You know what I'm getting at. I think that we can agree that peace is the opposite of that, right? It's the opposite of that. It's the opposite of conflict. It's the opposite of your mind racing and trying to solve the next problem. It's the opposite of you trying to figure a way out of some mess. It's the opposite of trying to referee disputes between two individuals or perhaps yourself. It's the opposite of you sitting up here, I'm going to take the high road, even though this person, man, they trying me. It's the opposite of all of that. It means not being in that. And once you really master having this peaceful zone, this thought process, even when those things arise, your blood ain't boiling. You can make choices from that central part of the new you, which is peace, instead of making the choices out of things that are attached to the opposite of peace, such as desperation, making choices out of emotion, being in desperate situations, making decisions that you normally wouldn't make if you weren't in this situation, because you had more time to think and things weren't so chaotic. Peace. Peace. And see, when you get back to the basics of thinking about what peace is, you slowly but surely are able to add on to that. Just like when you were little and you might begin building blocks or working with Legos, whatever the case may be, you're starting at the ground level, right? Of what you want to build on. I would hope that you're not that child that's starting to build an airplane with Legos, starting with the wings first. Maybe you did. Maybe I'm the crazy one. But you got what I'm saying, right? You're not going to start trying to operate from drama and conflict and rewind back and get back on track. Start with drama first and then finding peace second. Now, there may be situations where you're in drama and you're just like, hey, where do we go wrong? And you start trying to backtrack. And now you're getting into that headspace of what I've talked about in a lot of my videos where I'm always taking things to myself and I'm going, hey, what could I have done better to keep this going in a healthy direction? That's something completely different. That's you getting back to that, trying to operate from that central you up a piece. Now, when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about how there are certain professions, things that you do, where if you don't constantly, well, it might be a bit extreme when I'm saying constantly recertify, but if you don't stay up on your recertification, whether that's yearly or whatever the case may be, every 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, if you don't stay certified, then you lose your license to whatever it is that you're doing. So if you keep stepping out of the rim or whatever it is that you're doing, you come back to it, it's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Whatever field that it is that you're learning, it is very important that you stay up and on about it with your skills. You got to go back to ground zero, level one. Or at the very least, take a test, show us what you know, what you remember, so we can recertify you and say that you're skilled enough to continue doing what you're doing, right? There are some jobs out there that require you to do that. I'm going to talk about my wife, for example. She's a hairstylist, right? Not just any old hairstylist, a doggone good hairstylist. And not just a person who went and got that certification to do hair. She's taken it to the next level. She's a master instructor, so she's capable of teaching how to do hair. So there's a lot of different levels with that. Yeah, I'm going to brag on that because I'm proud of that. I never even knew a master instructor existed till I met my wife, right? But here's a few key things to know about what went into making my wife who she is and why she's so skilled at what she's doing. She's done a bunch of different jobs, right? But she's always kept that hair going in the background. She's always kept up on the newest styles and what's going on, and doggone it, you can bring it to, she's going to know how to do it. Now, she might not do everything because there's certain things that with her schedule, it's not going to allow her to dedicate time up off into those styles. So she has other people up around her that she's capable of referring them to, right? Because after all, she's a woman of many different hats, right? So she's doing other things. But I do know this from being around my wife, you have people where perhaps they haven't stayed up on that skill. So they learn the fundamentals and they've never really grown beyond that. Their clientele reflects that. They can't do certain types of hair. They can't do certain types of styles. And with that, if that's the way that they want to, maintain and stay, that's fine and good. But the thing is, the level that they're on, they're not going to exceed that unless they start putting in the work and the effort to go beyond that, right? Now, let me tell you where I'm going with this. If my wife didn't stay up on all the newest trends and things and stay, certifying and going to hair shows and so forth and so on, she would lose those basic skills. And I use might very loosely because, like I said, she's doggone good at what she does. So that within itself, that's a rarity, right? But one thing she wouldn't be able to get around is staying up on that certification. If she was to step away from that hair for any extended amount of time, she's going to have to recertify and she's going to have to go and do it again. So she's consistently had to stay up on that skill, right? And it's the same way that we do up off in life. You have to keep working at it, sharpening yourself up on, knowing the best ways to maneuver and do things up for you. Now, if you step away from that, for any length of time, some of us, it may be longer than others and so forth and so on. And then, I know for the smart aleck that's out there, you may have that individual who they never fall off the wagon. They go back into it and they're just doing it. And actually, I think that's my wife. I think that she could do that. She could fall off and not do it 20 years and come right back off into it. So, might be a little biased, but I don't think that I am. Just telling you the truth, telling you like how I see it, right? But for the most part, a lot of us, hey, you got to stay up on that. You got to keep doing it. Now, I'm going to go over to the second half of this video for what I alluded to earlier when I'm talking about you're a person that you're consistently having to run a person back through the basics. Now, I'm not talking about perhaps having like an educator that they teach like these basic levels up of things because that's a specialty within itself. I'm talking about, hear me out now here. I'm talking about a person who have to keep stepping back up on the basics from whatever higher skill level that they're at. And now they done lost the certification for what it is they know how to do. Now they got to go brush up on what they're doing. Case in point, I'm thinking about educators. You know, you got different levels of education. I really don't remember the technical term because it's been a month. See, that's the exact example of what I'm talking about. You know, I used to substitute teach, so I got the exact names of this. I think it might be like early development when you're talking about like elementary kids and so forth and so on. And, you know, you have middle school, then you have high school, then you have higher learning education. I'm sure that perhaps, you know, they may be interchangeable to some degree, but I don't think all of them would work as well with them, you know, placing this person up off in this position to do this job. And if they were stepping away from any length of time, then they would need to go back to recertify. So what I'm saying is we'll use that example with early development, perhaps preschool. Then you got like some sort of college professor. Yeah, they may be able to take some classes. Well, not maybe. I mean, I'm more than likely sure that you could take some classes you wanting to shift over to early development and do that and so forth and so on. But as you're stepping away from that higher education, you may forget on what it's like dealing with adults up off in that way. So some of the things that may go out the window, less like I said, you're that exception where you never fall off the wagon. Before you come back over there to do that, you need to get recertified. And that's how I look at it when you're stepping away and you have to keep talking to somebody. Like what I alluded to earlier in this video, I said that person will have to keep stepping down to talk to them up on the basics. Then now you're making me lose my certification on what I'm doing. Because you're playing both parts of the field. Yes, we all need help. Yes, we can learn something from anybody. Old can learn something from new can learn something from old. Whatever the case may be. Some of those things may be interchangeable. But you can't give up your position up off in life consistently and still hold that same position. Remember what I said about with my wife? Stand up on a skill with that master instructor, so forth and so on. Imagine, you know, trying to step out of that and losing the sense of everything that they're doing with styles, the new products and things that they're doing with hair and tools and so forth. And yes, I'm referring to them as tools on the things that they're using. Things done come a long way just from when I was a child up to now on the things that they do with people's hair. So imagine stepping away from that and you're just going to step back off into it and people are doing different things and what so forth and so on with the hair, and you're going to be at that same skill level. So it's like you got to pick a lane and stay there. You're not going to be able to keep stepping down and just being all up over the board. Yeah, you can wear different hats up off in life and you can do things pretty proficiently. But what I'm talking about is, even with that, that's still you choosing your lane and choosing to juggle and balance all of those different things. I'm talking about being brought up out of the norm. That's where I'm going when I'm talking about this second part of this video. That's the skill level. So the same example, same thing will go back with me talking about with my wife. Even though she's done many different things and she's done things at the same time outside of hair, she's juggled them and she's kept it in the loop. That hair and that master instructor's license to make sure that skill is where it needs to be, to still do that, do it proficiently while doing other things up off in life. My point is, she's not walked away from it any extent of time because she's not put that to the test and think that I'm just going to walk off in here with the same cocky attitude that I'm doing it just as efficiently as I always have. That's the point that I'm talking about. And that's what I'm talking about when sometimes you have to keep running people back to the basics and you're just like, hey man, you're going to have to get this on your own. Because I can't keep stepping back down here with you on the basics. Think about what I was talking about earlier in this video, what I was talking about what peace looks like to me, right? Where, got a delivery, where what I'm thinking about is if peace looks a particular type of way to me on the way that I operate and the way that I do up with people, then think about how if I'm going back to basics with somebody, perhaps showing them how to work out arguments, referee things, and do this, that, and the other, and so forth and so on, that's no longer peace to me. Because now I've planted myself over in confusion. This has been a part of my peace, which is the opposite of peace. And think about if I was to pick that up with multiple people, then I've now redefined what I think peace is. And perhaps peace has taken on a whole different meaning to where it's the opposite of that. And now I found myself off track and I'm back to the beginning of this video of trying to get back to basics. That's the point of what I'm saying and where I'm trying to take you at when I'm thinking about back to basics. I'm thinking about it from two different angles. Staying up on whatever skill it is that you're trying to keep and maintain, such as my wife and her doing what she does with hair. And I'm thinking about it from the other level of maintaining the level of what I'm on to make sure that I'm not losing my footing in that position, because I keep stepping out of that position and I lose my recertification for my position in life. I just like to add a face to these things so it's a lot more real to you. Are you getting what I'm putting down? Huh? End the video. Stay encouraged. Avoid being discouraged. My name's Ayin. Y'all have a good one.